Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on this webinar introduction to mental wellbeing at work and the SuperMind programme. So today I'm joined by Linda Dowie, who's our mental wellbeing expert, also specialised in mindfulness here at SuperWellness. Hi Linda.
Hi Angela and hi everybody.
Thanks for joining us. So Linda is a qualified stress management expert. She's been working in the field for over 20 years. She's also trained in a wide range of complementary therapies, from massage to energy healing. And before all of this, Linda used to work in a busy customer service environment, so she can really relate to what employees can be going through on a daily basis. So the session today really is aimed at employers who want to offer support to their employees on the mental wellbeing side. We'll be touching on the SuperMind programme, which Linda's developed for clients at SuperWellness. And I'll be interviewing Linda for approximately 30 minutes. So with really a focus on mindfulness today. So Linda, my first question, can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and how it led you to mental well-being from a completely different background?
Yes, I spent 20 years in sort of the customer service environment, and I worked my way up through the ranks, so I know the challenges at all the different ranks as well. And I know it's worse now than it was when I was back in the office. The challenges that are thrown at you all the time. But I got the opportunity to change careers, and I took the experience that I had and I took it into complementary therapy. And as you say, I've studied various forms of body work, healing, stress management, nutrition, all different sorts of things. And what's been interesting is I work with people one-on-one. So I'm privileged to share things with people, or they share things with me. So I get to hear their stories, and I get to understand that, to the outside world, they might present this really together persona, but underneath, they can be really struggling.
So it gives you a real behind the scenes view on really what's going on for people in reality.
Yeah. Things that they wouldn't share in a group, they share with me. And then in the group scenario, when I'm running workshops, I work in schools, universities, councils, corporate environments, industrial environments. I've been all over the place. So I hear the stories from all different backgrounds, and everyone's the same. Everyone comes up with the same problems and same stories. We're all humans with the same challenges. And for people at work, it's difficult, and for the employers, it's difficult because people are taking time off now because they just can't cope anymore. Some people are going on, 3 to 6 months long-term sickness.
Yeah.
I ran into a lady the other day. I was waiting at the train station, waiting for the Northern Line train, and I let 6 trains go past before I got on. And this lady was
typical day at work for a lot of people.
Exactly. And I sat down next to this lady who was doing the same thing. She said, "I'm not in a rush." I said, "No." I said, "I've got a bit of time." So I said, "Why are you not in a rush?" She said, "Well, I'm on a return to work." I said, "Oh, okay. Do you mind me asking what you were off for?" She went, "Oh, stress." She said, "I've been off for 3 months or so." I said, "Oh, and how do you feel about going back in again?" Anyway, we had this long conversation, and she quite obviously felt uncomfortable in the workplace. But she also, she was going through the motions, shall we say. And I think the thing that struck me most, it was during our conversation, we were talking about things that she might be able to change. And I was talking about support at home. And she said, "My husband said to me the other day, well, you're saying all this, but you look fine." I said, "You do look fine." I said, "In fact, you look very beautiful and all together." I said, "But with what you're telling me," I said, "I know that underneath you're not." She said, "No, I'm not." She said, "But everyone thinks I'm fine." And that's the issue. So for employers, it's difficult to pinpoint what's going on. And employers suffer because people have a long-term sickness. When they're at work, they're not really totally engaged. They make errors. A negative mindset can ripple out to other employees and affect them. you know, it just has this creates a downward spiral. So I think it's really important to focus in on this. And I was talking to a couple of mental health first aiders last year, and I was asking them what they were taught. And it's over a 2-day training, and they're taught all about various forms of mental health. And mental health can be just feeling a little bit anxious to, you know, suicide is really vast.
Everyone has it.
Exactly. But it's a bit of a taboo thing, isn't it? If you say you've got mental health issues, people think you're mental.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do with being mental. But they were taught what to look for. They were taught where to send people, and they were marked out as people to go to in the organisation, which I think is fantastic. However, from the people that I speak to, one-on-one, when I'm working with them at home, or if I'm in the workplace one-on-one, and in groups, I realise that there are many people who just won't use the service, especially the men. You know, even if they're struggling, they won't go to them. So I was having a conversation.
Even now that it's sort of the stigma's being broken, and it's a topic that's making all the headlines, and people are still struggling.
They really are, and they don't want to be perceived as being weak. And as soon as you sort of admit that you're struggling a little bit, you're seen as being weak, you know, and someone else is going to come along and take your job. You know, all those sorts of things are running through their heads. And I was talking to a mental health nurse about this a few weeks back, and I said to her, from my point of view, I said, it seems to me that initially people are struggling. I said, you know, and then they realise that maybe they need a little bit of help. I said, and generally speaking, their first port of call will be the doctors. And the doctor will put them on some antidepressants, and that will numb the sensations a little bit, you know, and help them cope. But it doesn't really address any of the problems. And then you've got the other extreme. You've then got a big void, really, where there's nothing much available, until you get to the other extreme where you're feeling possibly suicidal, or you really do need help. And then you've got counselling, and you've got various things that you can do then. But there's this great big void in the middle where there's nothing. And I asked her, I said, is my understanding correct, or is there something there that I don't know about? She went, no, that's exactly what it's like. So.
Yeah. And that's a conversation we were having about a year ago, wasn't it? And
it was.
You know, we were also talking about how nutrition is really impactful, used in the right way for mental health. And we started kind of the seeds of SuperMind started to be born. So how would you say that you know, SuperMind sort of fits within all that train of thought, really?
Well, when we were having our conversation, we were talking about various things that we could do. And when I go into companies, very often I'm only in for an hour. And I like to try and give as much information for people as I can in that hour so they can use it. And you made the point, which was very, very valid, that, you know, sometimes you need to do less. You need to have less in there and give people more thinking time and talking time for mindfulness and all of this. And in order to do this, we needed to spread things out and give people that time. And I see it as a bit of a journey. So some people are more open to the journey than others, but some people just don't realise where they are and where they need to change. And nobody changes overnight.
No.
You know, you need to be given information that you can digest and look at yourself and learn from. So basically, there's this sort of journey of 9 different workshops presently, going through. The first 3 cover mindfulness, the second 3 look more at resilience, and then the final 3 look more at performance. But with each one, all the delegates have talked about nutrition and how important it is to their mental and physical well-being. we cover various elements of stress management. We teach techniques. We give them challenges to go home and practice to develop new habits.
Mm-hmm.
We do mindfulness. So
Yes,
we give them all the things that we want them to be doing so that they can pick what resonates with them.
Yeah. And I think a big part of those sessions seems to be the group discussion, doesn't it? The fact that you've got these, you were talking about the one-to-ones earlier, but in this setting it's a group of up to 20 people. And so they get to discuss the topic for each one. And that seems to, for the sessions that we've run so far, that seems to be quite powerful.
Well, people realise they're not on their own. You know, everyone's struggling. And they also realise that, you know, sometimes making a change on your own can be quite daunting. Yeah. But if there's a few of you together who make the change, you've got the support of your colleagues. You can make it fun, but you've also got more impact. So when you go back to the office, for those people who haven't joined in, you know, if you're on your own, they're going to go, oh, doesn't make any difference.
Yes, then it's hard to put it into practice because you're not supported by people around you. Yeah,
exactly. So it's very, very powerful when people can share and realise that they can talk about this, and the sessions are for them. This is for them, for them to learn and grow, and you know, everyone's going to learn different things, but as a more rounded and happier human being, they're going to be nicer to work with, and they're going to be better for the organisation as well. But ultimately, it's for them. It's not for the organisation.
And it's framed in a way that's more. We wanted something that was more empowering, didn't we? Rather than looking at, you know, problems or issues. It's really more giving people tools that they can use to feel better and to cope better with things.
Well, it's all well and good knowing about stress, but if you don't have any techniques that you can use to alleviate the stress, what's the point of knowing about it? You can't change a thing. And you know, to make a change, you have to change. It's no good just thinking about it. You have to make a change
and acknowledge in the first place that there's a problem.
Exactly. And you know, we encourage people to not change too much at once, because if you try and change too much at once, you set yourself up for failure. Especially if you're a busy person anyway. So the emphasis is on really just one change per month. You pick out this month what change you want to make, and you just practice that every single day. And then by the next time we meet, that should be a new habit for you. And then you pick something else. So it's in small bite-sized steps rather than all at once.
But pretty powerful when you start feeling the results.
Yes, and as you start going through, it really motivates you to try more things. And then when you come back and you share what you've tried with the others, they go, oh, I didn't realise it did that. And they're encouraged to do it as well.
Yeah, it's that group dynamic. We find the same with the nutrition programs, that you know, really people fire off each other and support.
Very often I learn loads from the people on the course. You know, I'm teaching, but they're teaching me as well with their experiences.
Yeah, fantastic. So can you talk to us a little bit more about the mindfulness, the 3 first workshops on mindfulness? Because that's the main focus for today's webinar.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's no point in jumping in at the deep end when you don't deal with basics. So the first session really is looking at stress and the effects of stress on our mind and body, and you know, the impact that has, and also looking at how much we're actually juggling. Because I speak to so many people, and very often you can look at somebody and you know that they're really challenged, and when you ask them if they're all right, I'm fine. And you turn to them again, I'm coping, they go to me.
You can tell from their voice that they're not fine.
You know, and if I persevere and start asking them what's going on, very often, you know, just one little thing that they're dealing with turns into 4 or 5 things that they're dealing with. And suddenly they then appreciate that, oh, actually, you know, things might be a bit more challenging than I gave them credit for. So, you know, looking at what happens when you push yourself too far and maybe start going into burnout. And then if you are in burnout, then how do you get back up to, you know, full fitness again. And, you know, it's not an overnight occurrence. You're going to have to work at it. You know, a couple of days off is not going to take you from burnout to full beans again. So that's the first session, sort of looking at where they are now and maybe what people might want to start thinking about changing.
And I really like your visualisation in that session, Linda, that you do with the baggage. Is that
the baggage?
The first session?
Yeah, it's we sort of stop. We go to a station with all of our baggage, you know. So you think about all the different things that you're juggling at the moment, all the different things in your life, and we get on a train, and we start to do this visualisation, and then the train keeps stopping at different stations, and as the doors open, you have the opportunity to chuck some baggage out the doors. And it's just a really lovely way of thinking, actually, I really don't think that can get rid of it. Now, at a subconscious level, it really is quite profound.
Quite a relief.
It is. So, you know, all of the guided visualizations, the mindfulness is designed to go down into the subconscious mind, let people relax.
It's really working on a deep level, isn't it?
It is, and that's the second session. It's explaining to people the power of the subconscious mind, and the fact that most of the time we're living in the past, worrying about different things, you know, ruminating over arguments we might have had or something like that, or thinking about what might happen in the future that may never happen anyway.
Yeah.
And so often we're just not here right now in the present, being aware of what's going on, listening to people, listening to ourselves. And mindfulness is about that, being in the present.
Yeah.
So during that session, we talk about that. We talk about the power of the mind, and then we practice being in the present. And it's interesting because, you know, people are a bit skeptical normally. But when you sit people down, and I don't tend to do it for a long period of time, because most people don't have a long period of time to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I tend to
one meeting to another, or
exactly. So I tend to do sort of a progressive relaxation. We might do some mindful breathing, and then we'll do a guided visualization, maybe just a little bit of meditation. But I'll do that in 5 or 10 minutes. So they've got different ideas that they can use.
Yeah.
They can pick the best one for them. But what's really interesting is that after just 5 or 10 minutes, they open their eyes and they go, oh. And they can't believe how much they've changed in that 5 or 10 minutes.
There's nothing like that realization through experience, is there?
Exactly.
As opposed to the theory.
Exactly. So that's the mindfulness session. I think that's really powerful. And then the third session in the mindfulness section is looking at beliefs, and what beliefs we've grown up with and we've developed over the years, and how they colour what we see. Because, you know, we filter, we look for what we believe in. So, you know, if we've got a really negative mindset, we look for negative things to reinforce that.
Yeah, we don't even realise we're doing it.
Exactly. And one of the examples that I give is I was working with a friend of mine quite a few years ago. We were together 2 hours. And at the end of the 2 hours, she said to me, now, Linda, she said, do you realise that in this 2 hours you've called yourself a silly cow 5 times? I went, no, I haven't. She said, you have. I've been counting. Goodness gracious me. So I sat down and I thought about it. And I knew exactly where it had come from. My mum always calls me, she still calls me a silly cow nowadays. But it doesn't have the effect that it used to.
No.
And when I used to stand up and share this with people in groups, I could feel the emotional charge around it. And I thought, you know, I'm standing up imparting my knowledge, but I've got this little voice. Voice sitting on my shoulder going, you're a silly cow, no one's going to listen to you.
Undermining everything that you're doing and saying.
Exactly.
And you don't even really know it's there.
Yeah, but you know, when I shared this story with people initially, I could feel it was there. But now I can talk about it with no problem whatsoever. You know, when my mum called me a silly cow a few weeks ago, I just looked at her, really?
Because you realise you're mindful of it, I suppose. You've identified it.
I realised it was her issue, not mine.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I carried it as my issue.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful. I say to people right now, we're going to think about what we think about. And they go, what? But how often do we think about what we think about?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what colours the way we interact with people, the way we see things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really powerful session to look at what we're doing, the names we call ourselves, you know, the people we mix with, things like that, and make some changes. So those three, I think, really are the grounding that we need to move forward, because without them, if you don't understand the pressure that you're under, you'll dismiss it.
No.
If you can't do the mindfulness, then how on earth are you going to take time for yourself? And then you have to understand that some of these beliefs that you have aren't necessarily yours, and you can change them.
What a relief to be able to see that and change it.
But everybody, you know, if you want to change, you have to make a change. You have to be aware of what you need to change before you can change it. I think that's the problem. Most people aren't aware of what they need to change. The old triggers go off all of the time, and they react in the same way all of the time. Whereas this gives people the opportunity to take a step back, look at what's happening, and then choose to act in a certain way, rather than keep reacting in exactly the same way as they always have. And change starts to happen as a result.
And then, of course, they also have the tools through the techniques to have something really practical that they can do when they feel that they're, you know, under pressure.
And they're nourishing themselves better. So all the time they're getting better food going in, so their brain's actually able to work better, they're sleeping better, they've got more energy. All these things feed in.
Yeah, there's so many things really that influence how we feel, aren't there? And
that's the thing as well, you know, you can't just deal with it all in one session. There are so many things that impact the way that you feel, and it's slightly different for everybody anyway.
So everyone takes something slightly different from the session. Yeah,
exactly.
So what about you, Linda, then? What would you do if you're struggling and feeling under pressure? What's your go-to technique for that?
Well, my go-to technique is breath, and I teach this all the time. It's the quickest possible way that you can re-engage the rest and relaxation response. You know, when someone says, "Oh, just breathe," you think, "Oh, it's not going to make any difference." Actually, it really does.
I get even more stressed at the thought of having to focus on the breath.
You know, and I explain the physiology around the breath, but as soon as you start to re-engage the breath and start taking a nice deep breath, your body automatically relaxes. So, you know, if I can remove myself from the situation, I do. If I can't, then I just stay where I am and I just engage my breathing. I deepen my breathing, and it just takes me into this new space where I just let the pressure go, and I start to see things in a different way.
Yeah, amazing, very powerful. And do you think it's changed how you react generally to things, and has it changed you practicing this?
Totally. My husband would really attest to this. He says, "You're a different person now. Don't go back to the old person." And my children taught me this. When I was in the office, they were quite young, normal little boys, quite boisterous. And they used to be quite naughty sometimes, and I used to try all different techniques to get them to behave, and very often it didn't work. And then when I started to change careers and started to learn more about myself, I noticed a change in their behaviour, and to my horror I realised that I'd been blaming them for creating all this stress in my life by being naughty. Actually, I realised that I was creating the stress and they were reacting to it.
Wow. So it was the other way around.
Exactly. And I was mortified when I realised, and I thought, well, I can change me, but I can't change other people. So from that point forward, whenever they used to play up, the first person I used to look at was me. And if I was a bit unsettled, a bit stressed, then I would take myself off, do some breathing exercises, whatever it might be, and then come back. If I was
very intensive, really, isn't it, to practice?
Exactly. if it wasn't me, then I'd sort out the situation. I'd sort out the little so-and-sos. But actually, a few weeks ago, I was running a workshop and I shared this story, and this chap came up to me at the end and he said, I've got a daughter who's 3 and another daughter who's 15. He said, and I've suddenly realised I'm the one creating stress.
So through attending the workshop and hearing, was it hearing your story that triggered that?
I think it was, yeah, because he said, I do exactly the same thing. And I thought it was interesting because I thought, well, at home, hopefully it's going to make a difference. But in changing that, he might also be somebody who in the workplace gets very irritable and will affect people around him. So once he's maybe seen the change in his children, then that may well ripple into the workplace and realise that he's creating problems there as well. That he can change.
Yeah, it's amazing the energy, isn't it, of someone who's stressed, how you can sense it, and it's almost palpable that...
It's horrible to be around, isn't it, sometimes?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, so
it's a journey of learning. Excuse me, it's a journey of letting go, a journey of creating more space for yourself, looking after yourself, dropping the guilt about looking after yourself. And if you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're human beings, not human doings.
Yes, which we forget sometimes.
Yeah, and we're not, we need to have things that really nourish us. We need love and friendship, and we need interests that feed our soul. And sometimes we get so busy, all of that gets left to one side. Yeah.
And the understanding of ourselves as well. So we sort of, understand where we're going from and what we do to feel better.
I mean, we're not going to change overnight. And sometimes the change can take years. So what?
It's an ongoing journey, isn't it, really?
It is, and the choice is not make any changes and stay exactly where you are, but gradually make more and more changes and feel better and better and better.
And help everyone else around us feel better as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'll be practicing your breathing technique. Thanks for that, Linda. That was a really insightful session focusing on mindfulness. So if you've been watching today and you're interested in speaking to us further and looking at ideas to support your employees around their mental well-being, then you can drop us an email on info@superwellness.co.uk or visit our website and you'll find more information and ways to get in touch with us there. So believe Linda will be back with a couple more webinars touching on resilience and performance in the near future. So we hope to see you there. Thanks very much for joining us. Bye.
Bye-bye.